hunger, poverty. That's what Marcus Rashford experienced in his childhood. Before becoming a hero at Old Trafford, the kid had to fight to survive. He came through hell and high water to make it as a football star. In his most difficult moments, Marcus Rashford clung to what little he had. A ball, but more importantly, his family. Thanks to hard work and determination, the striker overcame these difficult tests. Today, he fights on and off the pitch for equality, but above all, so that no child has to go through what he did. October 31st, 1997. Marcus Rashford was born in Manchester, in the north of England. He grew up in the Wythenshawe area with his 4 brothers and sisters. Marcus was the youngest of the family, raised by Melanie, their mother. The young woman had to look after her 5 kids alone. They didn't have much money, and feeding everyone was very complicated. She sacrificed herself for her children's needs. For example, she skipped meals and had 3 different jobs. Over time, the situation got more and more difficult.
My mum was a single parent. She's got 5 kids that was all living in the same house. And that moment was the most difficult moment. She's working very hard to put food on the table, and then it's the stress on the shoulders that affected her.
Melanie clearly struggled to make ends meet, but she refused to give up. As for Marcus, he was just a kid who loved football. He could spend hours with the ball at his feet without ever stopping. He joined his first club when he was 5. He had lessons at Fletcher Moss Rangers FC as a goalkeeper. The club soon realized that they had real talent playing for them. But it was when he was playing in attack that the young boy really caught people's attention. Marcus was on a different level to other boys playing Sunday League football. When he was just 7 years old, little Rashford caught the eye of the biggest local clubs. First, Manchester City, who he trained with for a week. Unfortunately, the citizens shut him out because of his height. But his hope was far from extinguished. The giants of the English League were still interested in the kid. Everton, Liverpool, Manchester United. The Rashford family didn't even have time to think. Marcus signed for the Red Devils. The boy quickly stood out for his athletic ability. His breakthrough also took place very young. The kid from Wythenshawe was ahead of everyone at everything. When he was 12, he was keeping up with Pogba and Lingard, who were 16. The name Marcus Rashford was heard more and more in the corridors of Carrington. But there was still a long road to make it to the top and become a star. Years passed, and Marcus Rashford continued to show how good he was. But being at Man United's academy wasn't always easy. Far from the family home, the teenager was nostalgic for the past. A time which he spent kicking the ball against the wall of his family home. A time in which he only had to think about football, the innocence of youth. During his formative years, he missed all of that. But despite this wave of nostalgia, the talent continued his rise. He didn't let it get to him and fought to reach the top. The player did everything he could to stand out and prove that he was at the elite level. And on February 25th, 2016, Marcus Rashford made his debut with the professional team on a Europa League night. He scored 2 goals. At 18 years and 117 days, Rash became the club's youngest goal scorer in a European Cup, 50 years after George Best. Incredible! The teenager's hard work and determination ended up paying off. Marcus had arrived on the much sought-after path to glory. One performance doesn't open all the doors. The road was still long, but he gave 200%. He knew that to continue on this momentum, he had to work very hard. The striker improved at frightening speed. His talent and his consistency made him one of the greatest hopes in English football. Everything came to a halt in 2020. The entire world stopped to deal with a terrible pandemic.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Sports, culture, the economy, everything went on pause in the blink of an eye. The health crisis turned into an economic crisis that devastated the least fortunate in society. Many British people didn't have the means to properly feed their kids. And Marcus Rashford couldn't accept that. As he'd done for his entire life, he decided to fight. The player made this fight against poverty and hunger a personal affair. As a kid, he experienced poverty firsthand. He knew the awful feeling of going to school on an empty stomach. So, to help the poorest in society, he took on a major battle. Rashford wrote to the government demanding that they act. The star put huge pressure on the country's politicians.
I think what I'd like to do now that I'm in this position is just speak directly to the Prime Minister.
At the same time, he continued the fight single-handedly calling for donations. This fundraiser was quickly a huge success, raising more than $20 million. Thanks to this, more than 1 million kids could eat their fill. There were also a lot of families that could think about the future with less stress. Gifted with endless humility, fame as well, the hero Rashford doesn't ever forget where he came from. I know what it feels like to be hungry. I'm well aware that at times my friends only invited me to eat at their houses for their parents' reassurance that I was eating that evening. At the time, Marcus's mother benefited from government aid to help her kids. Now that he can, the player gives back. On social media, his actions and his commitment have not always been well received. Some even criticized Rashford for getting involved in politics. But he had a classy response to all his critics. This is not politics. This is humanity. These children matter. These children are the future of this country. They are not just another statistic, and for as long as they don't have a voice, they will have mine. On the other hand, the player also received a lot of support. Manchester United's rivals also praised the man's heroics. In Liverpool, for example, the fans set aside their animosity for kindness. Marcus Rashford managed to unite people behind this cause. Whatever their skin color, club, or social class, the player had everyone in agreement about one thing: kids don't deserve to suffer. His involvement and his commitment made Marcus Rashford a national hero, to the extent Elizabeth II made him a member of the British Empire, an honorary award that was completely deserved. Today, Marcus Rashford is definitely the most loved footballer in England. His acts of bravery prove that not all heroes wear capes. Like many kids before him, and like many more after him, Marcus started from nothing. But thanks to hard work and determination, he achieved his dream. Despite the fame and the fortune, the kid from Wythenshawe stayed humble. He used his past to move forward, but also to help others. He's managed to use his influence to change things. At 23 years old, Marcus Rashford is now an inspiration to an entire generation and a beacon of hope for people shut out in the dark.